everybody. I'm Ed Robinson, and welcome to this edition of Extra Base Hit. This is the program that gets you caught up on anything and everything happening around the world of Major League Baseball. Coming up on this edition of the program, we'll talk about the downfall of a team that is plays in a really big city, and also we'll talk about history being made, and of course we'll have the latest league leaders and standings in Major League Baseball. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. I want to start off with my top three storylines. I want to start off talking about the NegroLeagues. For those that may have not been familiar with the NegroLeagues were a professional sporting league during segregation, and the athletes that comprised of the NegroLeagues were one of one. It was a one-of-one organization with elite athletes with the likes of Josh Gibson, Buck O'Neal, Satchel Paige, James Cool Papa Bell, also Jackie Robinson, Willie Mays. They played in the NegroLeagues as well, just to name a few. Well, Major League Baseball recently announced that NegroLeague statistics have now been incorporated into Major League Baseball record books. So previously, Ty Cobb had the highest career batting average in Major League Baseball history. Not anymore, because now that Major League Baseball has integrated NegroLeague stats into the record books, Josh Gibson now holds the record for the highest career batting average in baseball history, with a record of 372. And this is really interesting because I'll say this. I'm on both sides of the fence on this. First of all, I think this is a crowning achievement because this is a continuation of new fans that have no knowledge of the NegroLeagues, no knowledge of a Josh Gibson, no knowledge of James Cool Papa Bell, or Buck O'Neal, et cetera, or have no familiarity or no lineage or no inkling to the NegroLeagues. This gives them an opportunity to learn about the NegroLeagues and the teams like the Homestead Grays and the Pittsburgh Crawfords and also the Atlanta Black Crackers, just to name a few. It gives those fans an opportunity, as well as fans of all ages that may have not been fully invested into the NegroLeagues, a chance to know about these players and a chance to just know about the amazing stories and the crowning achievements that the NegroLeagues had in place. Now, here's kind of like where I'm kind of not in agreement with this. The Negro League Baseball Museum is in Kansas City. Now with Major League Baseball integrating Negro League statistics into their record books, I want to know what's going to be the future of the Negro League Baseball Museum in Kansas City. Will all of the exhibits at that museum go over to Cooperstown in New York, in upstate New York, where the Baseball Hall of Fame is located? So many things that come into play with this. When I think of the NegroLeagues, as I stated at the beginning, it was a one-of-one league, right? You had opportunities that were presented to players that could not play in the major leagues at the time. This is all pre-Jackie Robinson and pre-Larry Doby. You know, when you had owners that gave African Americans, gave black people a sense of pride. Wherever the franchises were in the Negro League cities, whether it was Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Jacksonville, New Orleans, Indianapolis, Kansas City, wherever they were, it gave black people a sense of pride, and people would travel by car most times and watch the Negro Leagues play. And it gave, as I stated earlier, it provided economic opportunity for black people, black men that were owners of the teams, gave them an opportunity to have a sense of pride, so to speak. And I just want to know what's going to happen clearly with the future of the Negro League Baseball Museum. And in fact, because now Negro League statistics, again, have been integrated into Major League Baseball record books. And again, that is a crowning achievement. And I'm very proud that more people, more baseball fans, more enthusiasts will continue to know about a history of the Negro Leagues that, quite frankly, to be honest with you, a lot of people still don't know anything about. And we'll have to see about that. But in the meantime, again, another crowning achievement, for the Negro Leagues. Now they're being recognized into the Major League Baseball record books. I just hope going forward that the Negro Leagues will continue to have their own, not only their museum in Kansas City, but also continue to be recognized just in terms of their achievements alone, now that their statistics have been integrated into Major League Baseball record books. But very fitting and an honorable thing to showcase Josh Gibson, who is known as the Black Babe Ruth, and the guy who was a power hitter, because there's not much footage of him, there's not much film of him, but there's pictures of him, and certainly from the stories that have been given over the years from gentlemen like Buck O'Neil, who was the historian of the Negro Leagues, and certainly it's nice to know that that achievement has been recognized, and certainly big ups to the continued tradition and just the legacy of the Negro Leagues. My next storyline is going to be the New York Mets. If you haven't been listening to this show, I'll let you guys know that I am a New York Mets fan. How long have I been one? Well, let's just say I've been one for a long time. I'm not going to date myself, but I have been a New York Mets fan for a long time. And this has been a long and agonizing month of May for the New York Mets. The combined record March and April, 15-14. As this show is airing in the month of May, a record of 8-19. That's right, 8-19. Their record in the month of May. Not good at all. Pete Alonso hit with an injury. He's day-to-day. And then, of course, what happened with the pitcher Jorge Lopez getting into it with the umpire, throwing his glove into the stands, and then with the whole post-game interview just was nuts. Oh my gosh. I mean, the Mets, this is the franchise that has brought you great players like Dwight Gooden and Darryl Strawberry and Howard Johnson and Ron Darling. Oh my gosh, and Tom Seaver, Nolan Ryan, just to name a few. Also Willie Mays playing for the New York Mets, Mike Piazza, Yoenis Cespedes, Carlos Delgado, just to name a few. And this is what we've got Pete Alonso, we got Francisco Lindor, Starling Marte, but man, 8-19 in the month of May. I don't know. I don't know what's going to give with this Steve Cohen. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. I know one thing: the Mets better get their act together, man, because this is not good at all. It's terrible. It's not good at all. And then when you're competing with the other New York team in the Bronx, and they've been playing pretty well as of late, but man, you got to try to keep those bragging rights up in a city like New York, where you want to be the best. You want everybody's jockeying for position. Everybody is jockeying to be the best. And right now the Mets are not the best. They're not the best. They're at their worst right now. I don't know what's below the worst. Terrible, appalling, horrible. And they have great players on their team. I mentioned earlier with Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Starling Marte, just to name a few. These guys, these guys are some very talented players. Brandon Nimmo. Come on. And then Edwin Diaz is on the injured list as well. So I don't know what's it going to take, man. But the Mets, they are a very talented team, and they can get it done. They're just not getting it done right now, and I don't know what's going to give. There may be an overhaul real soon, and it may have to be an overhaul, because this is not good. And then on top of that, as I stated earlier, when you have another team in the area that has been playing well as of late, they're going to have bragging rights as well, and it's uncalled for, man. It's just uncalled for that when you have pitchers like Jorge Lopez arguing with the umpire, throwing his glove into the stands, and then on top of that, you at this strange post-game interview. My gosh, I don't know. As they say, different year, same old Mets. They got to get it together. They have to get it together. And then with with Jorge Lopez being released from the team after that fiasco, and rightfully so. I mean, it's bad enough the Mets having some growing pains. They're having a lot of trying times right now, and that's just a black eye within itself. But they got to get it together, because if they don't get it together, no one's going to, people may not invest into season tickets much longer, but they're going to have to get it together if they want to stay ahead of the curve, especially in a city like New York. And for my last storyline is going to be the Philadelphia Phillies. So we go from the New York Mets having a terrible month of May to the Philadelphia Phillies having a monstrous month of May. Everybody clicking on all cylinders. The pitching, the batting, everybody's clicking on all cylinders right now. Taijuan Walker has pitched well. Ranger Suarez has been on a tear. Also Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler. Those guys, that rotation, those guys in that rotation have been phenomenal. And then, of course, the hitting, right? Bryce Harper. I talked about the NegroLeagues was a one-of-one league. Well, Bryce Harper, he is a one-of-one player. He's been that since he's been in the major leagues and not slowing down anytime soon. He's had a fantastic month of May. Also, too, with Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, also Brandon Marsh. Alec Baum has played very well. JT Realmuto continue to bring the defense at the catcher position. The Phillies are just rocking and rolling right now. And certainly, I talked about that both the Phillies and the Mets, they play in the National League East. And while the Mets are just going downhill, the Philadelphia Phillies are continuing to just be at their best right now in the first half of the year. And again, with the Mets not playing well, the Nationals are so-so, and then you've got the Atlanta Braves that have gone through some changes as of late. We'll get into them in just a little bit, but kudos to the Philadelphia Phillies. Kudos to the manager, Rob Thompson, for managing his guys at such a high level. And certainly Philadelphia looking really good right now in this first half of the Major League Baseball season. All right, and that takes care of my top three storylines. And quickly before we get into the league leaders in the standings, some other news to pass along to you, and that's about the Atlanta Braves. I mentioned the Braves earlier, and certainly a person that was beneficial to that World Series team just a couple of seasons ago is now done for the year. Ronald Acuna Jr. will miss the rest of the 2024 season after tearing his ACL in his left knee. And man, when you talk about one of the best players currently in the league, one of the young stars in the league, when you need somebody that can give you hitting, defense, and let's not talk about the base running, right? Let's not talk about being a guy that is just a absolute menace when it comes to stealing bases. Ronald Acuna Jr. is that guy. And again, as I stated earlier, a few seasons ago was the 2021 season was very effective, but got hurt, but still was a part of that World Series team. And last season, he had a phenomenal year last year. And again, being a part of the 40-40 club, hitting over 40 home runs and stealing over 40 bases in the same season, becoming the first player in Major League Baseball history to do that. So that's a tough loss for Atlanta. Atlanta going through their troubles right now with the injuries, and it's a tough break right now. But when you lose somebody as dynamic as a Ronald Acuna Jr., man, that's a tough break. And that offense, they're going to have to rely on those other guys to really make the difference, like a Ozzie Albies and a Matt Olson. And just a ton of guys that's going to make the difference on that squad. And certainly that is a tough break. And also a tough break for the Braves as well. So while you lose Acuna, you also lose Spencer Strider. He's done for the year after having surgery to repair his UCL in his right elbow. And, man, that, again, when you talk about one of the rising stars, one of the top young pitchers in the league, that's tough. That's really tough when you lose somebody like a Spencer Strider. So now you've got Max Fried, you've got Charlie Morton, Chris Sale. You've got those gentlemen that you're really going to have to get a lot out of, because Strider is an ace on top of being an ace, and certainly they're going to miss him, and they're going to miss Ronald Acuna Jr. as well. And as I stated earlier, on the offensive side, you have to rely more on Ozzie Albies, also Matt Olson, Austin Riley, those gentlemen, also Marcel Ozuna, just to name a few. They're going to have to rely on those guys. Adam Duvall, they're going to have to get a lot of offense, because now they don't have their 40-40 guy, the guy that can not only hit the home runs but get you the stolen bases and also can get you quality defense as well. All right, so that takes care of some of the news, and now it's time for current league leaders in Major League Baseball. Let's start off in the American League. So the current leader in batting average in the American League is Salvador Perez. He's batting at .320. Next up, red hot Juan Soto from the New York Yankees. He's batting at .312. Next up, Bobby Witt Jr. from the Kansas City Royals. What a first half of the year he's having. He's batting at .309. Jeremy Pena from the Houston Astros is in fourth with a batting average of .302. And then coming in fifth is Adley Rutschman from the Baltimore Orioles. He's batting at .299. Next category is home runs. We have a three-way tie for first place. Aaron Judge from the New York Yankees, Kyle Tucker from the Houston Astros, and Gunnar Henderson from the Baltimore Orioles. They've all have 18 home runs. Jose Ramirez is fourth from the Cleveland Guardians. He has 16 home runs. And in fifth, Josh Naylor from the Cleveland Guardians. He has 15 home runs. Let's move along now to RBIs, runs batted in. Coming in at number one from the Cleveland Guardians, Jose Ramirez. He has 56 RBIs. Coming in at number two, Juan Soto from the New York Yankees. He has 49. And then tied for third, we have Salvador Perez, Aaron Judge, and Josh Naylor. They all have 41 RBIs. Next category is going to be hits. At number one, Bobby Witt Jr. He has 71 hits. At number two, Juan Soto from the New York Yankees. He has 69 hits. At number three, Jose Altuve from the Houston Astros. He has 68. At number four, his teammate, Jeremy Pena. He has 67. And in fifth, Salvador Perez. He has 66 hits. Last offensive category that we have is stolen bases. At number one, Jose Caballero from the Tampa Bay Rays. He has 20 stolen bases. At number two, Bobby Witt Jr. He has 16. At number three, Julio Rodriguez from the Seattle Mariners. He has 14 stolen bases. At number four, Michael Garcia from the Kansas City Royals. He has 13 stolen bases. And in fifth is Luis Rengifo from the Los Angeles Angels. He has 12. That takes care of your offensive categories. Now let's move over now to pitching. In the American League, currently leading the American League in wins, Seth Lugo from the Kansas City Royals. He has 9 wins. Tied for second, well, actually there's a three-way tie for second. Carlos Rodon from the New York Yankees, Tariq Skubal from the Detroit Tigers, and Luis Gil from the New York Yankees. They all have 7 wins. And in fifth, Logan Allen from the Cleveland Guardians. He has 6. Next category is going to be ERA, earned run average. At number one, Seth Lugo from the Kansas City Royals. He has an ERA of 1.72. At number two, Tanner Houck from the Boston Red Sox. He has an ERA of 1.90. At number three, Reese Olson from the Detroit Tigers. He has an ERA of 1.92. At number four, Luis Gil with an ERA of 1.99. And in fifth, Tariq Skubal. He has an ERA of 2.01. Next category is going to be saves. At number one, representing the Cleveland Guardians, Emmanuel Clase. He has 17 saves. At number two, Clay Holmes from the New York Yankees. He has 16 saves. At number three, Craig Kimbrell from the Baltimore Orioles. He has 12 saves. And then tied for fourth, James McArthur from the Kansas City Royals and Jason Foley from the Detroit Tigers. He has 11 saves. And the last category that we have is strikeouts. At number 1, Jack Flaherty from the Detroit Tigers. He has 90 strikeouts. At number 2, Garrett Crochet from the Chicago White Sox. He has 85 strikeouts. At number 3, Cole Reagans from the Kansas City Royals. He has 83 strikeouts. At number 4, Tariq Skubal with 80 strikeouts. And at number 5, Luis Gil with 79 strikeouts. That takes care of your league leaders in the American League. Now it's time to take a look at your current league leaders in the National League. And certainly the National League, no slouches by any stretch of the imagination. Certainly mentioned earlier about the Philadelphia Phillies, but also there's some Los Angeles Dodgers that are making some noise. So let's start off with batting average. Currently tied for first, representing the San Diego Padres, Luis Arraez and Mookie Betts from the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're both batting at 332. Coming in at number 3, Shohei Ohtani from the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's hitting 330. At 4th, from the San Diego Padres, Jurickson Profar. He's hitting at 323. And in 5th, William Contreras from the Milwaukee Brewers. He's hitting at 317. Next category, home runs. At number 1, Marcell Ozuna from the Atlanta Braves. He's hit 16 home runs. At number 2, Shohei Ohtani. He's hit 14 home runs. Followed in 3rd, from the Philadelphia Phillies, Bryce Harper. He's hit 13. And then tied for 4th, Teoscar Hernandez from the Los Angeles Dodgers and Pete Alonso from the New York Mets. They've hit 12 home runs. Next category is going to be runs batted in, RBIs. At number 1, Marcell Ozuna with 49. At number 2, Alec Baum from the Philadelphia Phillies. He has 47. At number 3, William Contreras. He has 43. At number 4, Bryce Harper. He has 42. And at number 5, Willy Adames from the Milwaukee Brewers. He has 39 RBIs. Next category is going to be hits. At number 1, Luis Arraez. He has 78 hits. At number 2, Mookie Betts. He's got 75. At number 3, Shohei Ohtani. He has 73. At number 4, William Contreras. He has 71. And at number 5, Alec Baum with 65. And the last offensive category that we have is stolen bases. This gentleman is simply electric. At number 1, representing the Cincinnati Reds, Elly De La Cruz with 31 stolen bases. At number 2, Bryce Terang from the Milwaukee Brewers. He has 19. At number 3, Jacob Young from the Washington Nationals. He has 17. At number 4, Ronald Acuna Jr. from the Atlanta Braves. He has 16. And in 5th, Lane Thomas from the Washington Nationals. He has 15. And that takes care of your offensive categories. Now let's move over now to pitching. This guy's had a monster first half of the year so far, currently leading the National League in wins. At number 1, Ranger Suarez from the Philadelphia Phillies. He has 9. At number 2, Chris Sale from the Atlanta Braves. He has 8. Number 3, Sonny Gray from the St. Louis Cardinals. He has 7. And then tied for 4th, Tyler Glasnow from the Los Angeles Dodgers and Zach Wheeler from the Philadelphia Phillies. They both have 6 wins. Next category, ERA, earned run average. At number 1, Ranger Suarez. He has an ERA of 1.75. At number 2, representing the Chicago Cubs, Shota Imanaga. He has an ERA of 1.86. At number 3, Chris Sale. He has an ERA of 2.12. Number 4, Javier Assad from the Chicago Cubs. He has an ERA of 2.17. And in 5th, Trevor Williams from the Washington Nationals. He has an ERA of 2.22. Next category is going to be saves. At number 1, Ryan Helsley from the St. Louis Cardinals. He has 18 saves. At number 2, Robert Suarez from the San Diego Padres. He has 16. At number 3, Kyle Finnegan from the Washington Nationals. He has 15. At number 4, Raisel Iglesias from the Atlanta Braves. He has 13. And in 5th, David Bednar from the Pittsburgh Pirates. He has 11 saves. And the last category that we have is strikeouts. At number 1, Tyler Glasnow. He has 95 strikeouts. At number 2, Zach Wheeler from the Philadelphia Phillies. He has 85. Coming in and actually tied for third, Dylan Cease from the San Diego Padres and Freddie Peralta from the Milwaukee Brewers. They both have 82 strikeouts. And in fifth, Chris Sale. He has 78 strikeouts. And that takes care of your current league leaders in the National League. All right, let's move over now to the current standings in Major League Baseball. And a lot of changes have happened with injuries happening, and also things are getting a little tight in some key races this first half of the year. Let's start off in the American League. In the American League East, the New York Yankees have a record of 39 wins and 19 losses. Followed by the Baltimore Orioles, they have a record of 35 and 19. The Boston Red Sox are next with a record of 28 and 29, and the Tampa Bay Rays also have the same record of 28 and 29. And the Toronto Blue Jays are last with a record of 26 and 29. Next division that we have is the American League Central. The Cleveland Guardians have a record of 37 and 19, followed by the Kansas City Royals with a record of 35 and 23. The Minnesota Twins are next with a record of 31 and 25, followed by the Detroit Tigers with a record of 28 and 28. And the Chicago White Sox are last with a record of 15 and 42. Last division that we have is the American League West. The Seattle Mariners are first with a record of 31 and 27. The Texas Rangers, the defending champions, have a record of 27 and 29. Coming in third are the Houston Astros with a record of 25 and 32. Followed by the Oakland A's with a record of 23 and 35. And in last are the Los Angeles Angels with a record of 21 and 35. Let's move over now to the National League. And we've got the National League East Division with the Philadelphia Phillies having a record of 39 and 18, followed by the Atlanta Braves with a record of 31 and 23. The Washington Nationals are next with a record of 26 and 29. The New York Mets are next with a record of 23 and 33. And then the Miami Marlins are last with a record of 20 and 37. The National League Central Division is next with the Milwaukee Brewers with a record of 33 and 23. The St. Louis Cardinals are next with a record of 27 and 27. The Chicago Cubs are next with a record of 28 and 29. The Pittsburgh Pirates are followed with a record of 26 and 30. And the Cincinnati Reds are last with a record of 24 and 32. And the last division that we have is the National League West. The Los Angeles Dodgers have a record of 36 and 22, followed by the San Francisco Giants with a record of 29 and 28. San Diego Padres are next with a record of 30 and 29. The Arizona Diamondbacks are followed with a record of 25 and 31. And then the Colorado Rockies are last with a record of 20 and 35. So there you have it. Those are the current standings in Major League Baseball. Again, it's a long season. Still have much of the first half of the year to go because the All-Star break will be in the middle of July. So still a whole lot of baseball to be played, and certainly a lot of teams putting up a lot of winning streaks right now. Teams we didn't expect. How about the Kansas City Royals and the Cleveland Guardians playing very well? Of course, the Philadelphia Phillies are really going to take advantage of the injuries recently to the Braves with Strider and Acuna Jr. They can really make turn a big lead up into the first half of the year, leading up into the All-Star break. As for the New York Mets, the only thing I can say is that we'll have to be praying for the team in Queens, and hopefully they can get their act together before the All-Star break. All right, and that's going to do it for this edition of Extra Base Hit. Until next time, everybody, I'm Ed Robinson saying so long, and you be good. Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe, and thank you for watching.